Welcome to From Center Ice. My name is Courtney, and how are you dealing with living in a post-playoff hopes world? Of course, the Blackhawks were eliminated from playoff contention last night. We've had about 24 hours to deal with that news. We all saw it coming. It's been inevitable for a little while now, but it's a lot different once it's actually factual and not just, we know this is going to happen, but it hasn't happened yet. I don't know why it's the case. You can prepare yourself as much as you want to, but the minute it is actually true and they are out of the playoff picture, it hurts a little bit, right? Not too bad, because again, we were able to prepare for it, but there's still that little kick in the lungs that you get and you're this really sucks. But anywho, we've had a whole day to process that, and we had a whole day before the next game happened because the Blackhawks played the Carolina Hurricanes again tonight. And once again, the Chicago Blackhawks lost to the Carolina Hurricanes in regulation. But this time the loss didn't mean anything. The game meant literally nothing to this team. And aside from the first period, they played like this game meant nothing to them. In the first period, they came out and they looked really good. It was like all the pressure was off of them. They don't have to worry about making the playoffs anymore. They can just go out there, play hockey, and they looked like they were having a good time for once. They even jumped out to a 2-0 lead in the first period, but once that first intermission ended, their game just died. How many times have we said this, that their game has just died? But once again, it happened. It didn't lead to as much frustration, but there were a few things I was frustrated in because of this game, but I'll get to those in a little bit. But first, we have the goals. The first goal of the game was scored by Alex DeBrincat 6 minutes and 20 seconds into the first period while the Blackhawks were killing a penalty. That's right, Alex DeBrincat scored his first short-handed goal of his career, and it was a pretty one. He had a nice little breakaway, and he just beat Mrazek. They started out the game with such good, nice feelings. And those feelings got even better just about 6 minutes later. Patrick Kane had the puck along the wall in the defensive zone. He got a little pass off to MacKenzie Entwistle, who just turned on the Jets and raced down the right wing. He got a shot off on Mrazek. I want to say that the defender was Dougie Hamilton, and Entwistle just made him look pretty silly. If it wasn't Dougie, I'm very sorry, but I'm pretty sure it was. And while that shot didn't go in, Mike Hardman was going on the rush with Entwistle, and he was in the perfect spot to just bang home the rebound. Mike Hardman's first NHL goal and MacKenzie Entwistle's first NHL point. I love when my Ice Hogs get NHL points. It makes me so happy inside. And it was a beauty too. He got to show off his skating, his speed, and of course you gotta feel good. Mike Hardman there to bang home his first NHL goal. Good feelings all around. It sucks that Entwistle's not going to be able to get the puck because it's gonna go to the goal scorer, but hey, you will take your first NHL point however you can get it, and it's just bonus points because it was a very pretty assist that he got. That was all of the scoring that happened in the first period. They went into that intermission, like I said, with the 2-0 lead, then started the second period, and they left that period with a 2-2 tie game. Nino Niederreiter and Andrei Svechnikov scored on Colin Delia, who was in fact back in net tonight. And you can't blame any of the goals that the Carolina Hurricanes scored on Colin. He actually had a very good game. He only faced 26 shots and he did allow 4 goals, but he came up with some huge saves, and the goals that went in, he was left out to dry by his defense. Tell me if you've heard that before with this Blackhawks team. Unfortunately, he ended the night with an .846 save percentage, so it's not going to look very good on the stat sheet, but anybody watching the game will tell you that he was very big in net for them. And he got to face about 1.5 minutes of a 5-on-3 penalty kill, so that's always fun, especially for a guy who's played half a game in the last 4 months, but Colin and the rest of the defenders did actually kill that off. Carolina went 0 for 3 on the power play tonight, but the Blackhawks also went 0 for 3 on the power play, so can we really celebrate that? I'd rather have power play goals. It doesn't matter how many goals the Hawks give up because they're not playing for anything, so let's actually get some goals on the board. But no, 0 for 3. So then the third period starts and the Carolina Hurricanes score 2 more unanswered goals to make that 4 unanswered goals now, and that made the score 4-2. If you recall, the Blackhawks at one point had a 2-0 lead. Everything is pain. But then Alex DeBrincat got his second goal of the game to make the score 4-3. That was assisted by Patrick Kane and Ian Mitchell. That was Kane's second point of the night. He also had the assist on Mike Hardman's goal. And Ian Mitchell kind of had himself a Patrick Kane-like game of the past couple weeks or months here. He did get on the score sheet with an assist, but he had a rough night defensively. And you can't blame it all on him. The defense as a whole for the Hawks looked very, bad, but there were a few plays where it was definitely his own fault, and it just was not a good look for Mr. Ian Mitchell tonight. Unfortunately, that was the end of the scoring for the Blackhawks, but the Carolina Hurricanes added on 2 empty net goals, so the score ended up 6-3 in favor of the Hurricanes. But like I said, the score doesn't really matter. The Hawks aren't playing for anything. So Carolina could have scored 5 more goals and it wouldn't really have changed anything, except maybe Colin's save percentage would look a little worse if he was in net for some of those. But what does matter is the young players going back to the 3 things that I was going to be watching for in these last few games of the season here. And one notable young guy, Kirby Doc, did not play tonight because his scar tissue in his wrist was aggravated, so he sat this one out. I hope he just sits out the rest of the season. There's no reason to bring him back. He said in a press conference after one of his first games back that his wrist is always sore. It just didn't make sense for him to sit out any longer. But to me, and to a lot of other people, that says that maybe they rushed him back a little bit, and it just doesn't make sense now that it's aggravated again and probably giving him some more pain than it was. It doesn't make sense to put him back in the lineup for these last few games that really don't matter. There's only 3 left. Just let him get into the off season early, get that wrist healed up, and then be ready for next year. Because there's no guarantees. If you do decide to slot him back into the lineup, he could re-break it or injure something else, and it's just a very needless risk to take. So that's one young guy, and moving on to the next guy that I was going to talk about, Colin Delia. He's not one of the rookies or one of the younger guys on the team. He's 26 now, but like I said, he did have a pretty good game tonight, and I kind of hope they just toss the rest of the 3 games to him as well. It doesn't make sense not to. Maybe you give him a break on the back-to-back with Dallas, but just let the guy play. You jerked him around this whole season. The other 2 weren't playing that great as of late anyway. Just give Colin the net. You have absolutely nothing to lose by doing so. You got enough games from the other 2 to see what you have in them going into the off-season. These last 3 games aren't going to change your mind at all. One of the rookies that did stand out to me in a positive way was Philip Kershev. He didn't get on the score sheet tonight, but that's alright. He looked engaged in the play. He was involved in different plays in both the defensive and the offensive zone. I don't have one play necessarily to point to, but while he was out there, he was very noticeable, and again, in a good way, and that's not what you can say for the rest of the team. And he also had 3 hits on the night, which was tied for second on the team. First on the team was Mike Hardman, and he had one of the least times on ice, which I will get to in just a moment. But Mike Hardman had 5 hits, Alex DeBrincat, Philip Kershev, and Riley Stillman all had 3. The guy who is supposed to be our big hitter, Nikita Zadorov, only had 2 hits in over 18 minutes of ice time, which I'm pretty sure is the most out of all of those except maybe Alex DeBrincat. Zadorov is a really interesting case. When he came over in that trade for Brandon Saad, people weren't super excited about him, but once the season started, he looked pretty decent for the first half of the year. He wasn't being overly physical like some people were hoping for, but he did lay a few big hits here and there, and he seemed sort of steady defensively. He didn't do anything horribly wrong. But as the season has gone on, he's been very replaceable? I guess that's putting it nicely. There have been some games where he's been the worst guy out there. And especially as of late, he's been losing his guy a lot. There have been many plays where he's on the ice and the puck ends up in the back of the net, or the opponent ends up with a quality scoring chance that the goaltender happens to save. But he just hasn't looked great as of late, and he's not being physical at all, which if he's not being good defensively, you would hope that he would at least be throwing the body around a little bit, but he's not doing that either. So what is he really doing out there? And the answer is not much of anything except getting walked by the opponent. So, I don't know. He is a restricted free agent at the end of this year. The Hawks have said that they plan on re-signing him, but that's gonna come with a pretty hefty price tag. And now that they have a guy in Riley Stillman that they did just extend for 3 years, he kind of plays the similar game to Zadorov. I don't really see the need to keep Zadorov on the roster going into next season, especially when he's going to have a higher cap hit. They could trade his rights to somebody interested in signing him. They could just let him walk and not qualify him so he would be an unrestricted free agent. I don't know what they plan on doing with him. What do you think they should do? Leave that in the comments for me. But here's where I was super frustrated. So again, this game didn't mean anything, and going back to the power play stats, the Blackhawks went 0 for 3 on the power play. So with about 4.5 minutes to go in the game, Jordan Staal tripped up Adam Gaudette, sending the Blackhawks back to the power play. They ended up pulling Collin Delia during this, so Carolina got one of their empty net goals during this power play. But again, that doesn't really matter, and that's not the point that bothered me, because they could have pulled the goaltender at the start of the third period. Nothing would have mattered. But here's where I got annoyed. We know what these power play units that we've had all season look like. We know that they're not very productive as of late at all. So with time winding down, you're down by 2 goals before the first empty netter, and you're on the power play. Throw some more of the young guys out there. Just see what they can do. What do you have to lose? Absolutely nothing. You're already out of the playoffs. You're already losing the game. You have 3 games left after this one. You gotta see what you have in these guys, and it makes the most sense to do it on the power play, because you know that these power play units aren't doing anything. But they stuck with the same units. They did nothing. I don't know why Duncan Keith needs to see power play time on the first unit. Every freaking game, he's not good on the power play. And of course, you're not going to take Patrick Kane off of the first unit. I'm not delusional enough to think that this would ever happen in any world unless he is not playing for the game. But you can switch up the other guys that are out there. Play Wyatt Kalynuk on the first unit instead of Duncan Keith. Hell, put Ian Mitchell out there. I don't care. He had a bad game already. If they get scored on, it doesn't matter. Or how about you put MacKenzie Entwistle out there? He got his first NHL point. Award the guy with some power play time. He plays on the power play in Rockford. He knows what to do. Just stick him out there. Maybe something good will happen. Maybe he gets his first NHL goal. Wouldn't that be fun? But no, we're not allowed to have fun. All we're allowed to do is watch a miserable, pathetic power play. It absolutely boggled my mind that when this game was winding down, they didn't throw any more of the young guys out there just to see what they could do. Give them a bigger responsibility. They didn't do any of that. I don't understand it. What are these games for then? You already know what you have in these guys who have been on the roster all season. This is when you need to evaluate the new talent, the new guys that are on the team. Maybe throw guys in different positions out there. Guys who typically aren't on the power play, put them on the power play. See if it sparks something. Put different guys on the ice with the goaltender pulled when it's 6-on-5. Do something different. This is the time to switch things up and step out of your comfort zone and just see if something sticks. But they just resorted back to things that haven't been working all season, and that doesn't make any sense. If they haven't worked for the first however many games, they're not gonna work in the last 4 suddenly. So that's really what bothered me about this game. Again, it's not about wins or losses anymore. It's about evaluating talent. It's about seeing who you want to keep on the roster going into next season, be that young guys or some of the vets who could be traded or let go to free agency. Any of that. It's about evaluating those guys, seeing where they fit on the roster. But they just stuck with the same things. The same things that don't work. Now is the time when they can just get weird and just throw things out there and be like, hey, this would be fun. Let's see what happens here. But no, we get the same boring hockey game in and game out. What is the point of playing these last 3 games or watching these last 3 games if we are just going to see the same thing over and over and over again? We're not going to be able to see the prospects play and where they fit into the lineup because we're just gonna see what we've been watching all year. And adding even more to that, I looked up the time on ice once the game was over, and the 3 guys with the lowest time on ice in all situations in this game were Vinny Hinostroza, Mike Hardman, and MacKenzie Entwistle. You know, 2 of those guys factored in on one of the goals. And that goal gave Entwistle his first point and Hardman his first goal. Why would you not reward them with more ice time? This game did not matter. You're not playing for anything. Let these guys get out there and play hockey and be like, hey boys, Good job. Congratulations on your points. Now have some more ice time. Why would you not do that? It just doesn't make sense to me. And Vinny Hinostroza has been one of the better players on this Blackhawks roster since he came over in that trade from Florida. Why does he have the third lowest ice time? It doesn't make sense. I thought with these last few games I would be able to leave them without getting frustrated or aggravated, because of course they don't matter, like I've said time and time again, because I think somebody needs to tell the team that. But now I'm not even frustrated with the play on the ice, I'm frustrated with the decisions that go into who is on the ice and at what times they are on the ice. I just have a lot of questions for this coaching staff. And I know the hip thing is to hate on Jeremy Colliton. I'm not going to do that here. But I will say, if the organization reverses their decisions and does let him go in the offseason, I wouldn't be surprised. Do I think that's going to happen? No. Would I be okay with that happening? Yes. And I like Colliton. I think he could do good things, but I just don't know what they are doing with this current roster. Nothing about it makes sense to me. The more I think about it, the more it doesn't make sense. You can almost try to rationalize it at the beginning, but the more you try to rationalize it to yourself, the more irrational it sounds. I feel like I'm just talking in circles at this point. So what do you think this team should do in these last 3 games that they have? They play Carolina again on Thursday, and then they have the Dallas Stars on Sunday and Monday. Yep, we get to end the season with a good old back-to-back. Do you think Delia should get the net again? Which young guys would you like to see in bigger roles? Are there any guys in Rockford you would like to see called up? I would love to see Isaac Phillips get a shot. Let me know all of that and any other thoughts you have down in the comments. If you would like to hear more from me or from Center Ice, head on over to FromCenterIce.com. You can find links to all the places where you can find us, or all of the links to our social media profiles are in the description. All of that being said, thank you so much for watching. I greatly appreciate it. Let's take tomorrow to just get some rest before they play again on Thursday and see what kind of new annoyances they can conjure up. But until then, forget about the annoyances, drink some water, get some rest, and I will catch you all after that one. Bye, guys. Thank you all for watching. Please hit that subscribe button to catch more From Center Ice content. If you could, hit the like button on this video, maybe share it with a friend or two, and while you're here, check out the podcast playlist and catch up on some old episodes. We will catch y'all next time. Bye!